episode of Game. It's a kaleidoscopic wash of color as the fragate takes a romp through a retro-inspired wonderland. We make some mates of the metallic kind in our continuing adventures on the World Wide Web. And as the days tick down before the pre-holiday rush, we check in with some smashing titles coming soon to a console near you. All that and more in the next half an hour. This is Game. Hey guys, and welcome to your favorite digital candy store, Game. Awesome episode this week as we treat your gaming sweet tooth to a platter of sugary goodness. I'm Kelly Latimer, and for the next half an hour, I do solemnly swear to bring you only the best that the world of video games has to offer. You know what they say, a game a day helps keep the blues at bay. So let's grab our shopping baskets and start at the review counter with our favorite shop assistant and game guru, the Fragate. Now, this week's Game in Review features a wash of candy colors and some beautifully hand-painted artwork. So let's see what he thought of Bastion. Take it away, Frags.
The Calamity gave us something else. A story. That may not sound like much. Wait till you hear it.
Hey ho, Fraggy with the review of the week as we take a look at an Xbox Live Arcade title which has been getting quite a bit of attention recently. Now, if you've been watching the show for a while, you'll know that I've got a pretty big soft spot for old retro games, having grown up in the 80s and all, so I was pretty excited when the preview code dropped for this download-only title. Playing like an isometric platformer from back in the day, Bastion is an action RPG with definitely more emphasis on the action than the roleplay. Now, in this game, you play as a sulking hero known only as the Kid, who awakens to find the world around him has crumbled to nothingness. So what do? Well, after a few groggy steps, you begin to realize that it's only by gallantly forging ahead that the world slowly starts to reveal itself to you. So, pretty interesting concept, but on its own, hardly enough to make this a must-buy title. So besides a rather neat aesthetic, what else does Bastion have in its tool belt? Now, the best thing about this indie gem is something pretty startling, especially when you first encounter it in-game, and it's all to do with how the story in Bastion is told. The moment your adventure begins, a fatherly voice starts to shake you from your slumber. But instead of the story being told using just a cutscene, the entire thing is delivered in real time, as you're actually playing the game.
Ground forms up under his feet as it pointing away. He don't stop to wonder why.
Now, what this does is really make it feel like more of a commentary on what's going on, and because of some brilliant writing and pacing, serves as a novel way to get the story across. Another thing I really liked was the design. A combination of manga-inspired art tacked onto some pretty watercolor backgrounds. But that all would be for nothing if not for the gameplay, and I'm glad to say that if you're the kind of gamer who likes his action to come fast and furious, there's plenty in Bastion to be happy about. The gameplay revolves around three basic weapon classes: the bashy types, the slashy types, and the shooty types. But you soon learn that as you explore, you begin to unlock more and more parts of the Bastion, your home ground in this fragmented world, and it's through constant upgrading that you gain access to buildings which allow you to upgrade and change your weapons, as well as others where you can buy a wide range of spirits, all of which serve to aid you in battle in one way or another. And it's this mix-up of styles, weapons, and alcohol which is central to the combat and really what makes the fighting in Bastion a whole lot of fun. Now really, as one of the more standout indie titles out there, my list of complaints for this one is pretty minor. But one of the things I did find was that while I like the interesting way in which the story is delivered, when it comes to the actual content, Bastion is a little thin. Most of the story is told through audio logs which go on after each stage is done, But even though I really tried to get into the whole thing, because the whole experience is fixed in this isometric viewpoint, the lack of any scenes showing the greater grandeur of the world outside really made it hard for me to connect with the characters and their struggles. Also, one of the things I liked about old school video games is that they often came with huge, memorable bosses, which worked like icing on a cake after a really good level. But I'm sad to say that even though the combat in Bastion is a pretty good mix of fast-paced action, there are no major boss battles in this game, which was kind of a letdown considering how awesome that would have made things. In the end though, with so much quality under its hood, Bastion is one game that I can quite easily recommend not to just fans of retro games, but to anyone who's looking for a good action platformer that doesn't bog itself down by being overly complex. It's a fun and innovative title from a great little upstart company with some super talented people, and at a bargain price of $15 for just about 15 hours of gameplay, also one of the more affordable games out there. A game which really deserves the title Interactive Adventure, Bastion comes highly recommended.
Thanks, Fraggy. Well, if you feel like building something grand and starting anew, then Bastion is definitely one to pick up. Somehow pretty graphics make me happy. What else makes me happy? Well, when we go for a commercial break and you guys stay with us, of course. So make me a happy girl and don't go anywhere, because when we return, it's a plethora of free-to-play treats for my sweets. And we ransack game stores everywhere to find the best new titles out this week. Hello my lovelies and welcome back to Game. Now, as promised, a little treat to start this segment. For those of us who can't afford to spend on the gourmet goodies all the time, here's the gaming equivalent of a 10-cent sweet pack. Except this is even better. It's free to play, right here, right now. It's online.
In this week's look at the best online distractions available on the World Wide Web, we begin with a rather perplexing puzzler starring a bunch of cloned cardboard heads in Use Boxman. Now in this puzzle platformer, the rules are simple. Get your Boxman to the box on the other side of the screen. Easy peasy. But wait, there's more! Because making your box collecting endeavors as tough as nails will be a bunch of traps, including spikes, switches, and bottomless pits, all made with the sole purpose of getting our hero to fold under pressure. A game which should test your patience as well as your skills in lateral thinking. The trick here is to use the many stances of your Boxman army to figure out the correct solution. Featuring a whimsical soundtrack which works wonders at soothing those frayed nerves. If you've got the poise to handle this daunting puzzler, get yourself some Boxmen of your own at the address below. Next up, it's time to man up and face the music, because when push comes to shove, it's time to defend your nuts. A cute tower defense game starring an unlikely squirrel hero who's ready to fight tooth and nail to protect his sacred stash of acorns. This one features, of all ex-people, forces of evil from deep in the underworld. Yep, zombies who have developed a strange affinity for these crunchy condiments. With a choice of 4 weapon classes, all of which are upgradable, help our friend the squirrel shoot, no, explode his way through the opposition. So get ready to put your nuts on the line, but be wary, because in this game of every man for himself, you just may lose them. And finally, in our rundown of the best online titles up for download this week, we check in with a fantastic little indie gem from game designer Andrei Barath, the game he's calling Dead Cyborg. Taking a step off the beaten track, this one is old school adventuring at its best as you step into the rusty shoes of a cyborg lost in an abandoned research facility. Using the first-person view, Dead Cyborg contains no violence to speak of, but instead hopes to lure gamers in with a unique storyline as well as a wonderful sense of atmosphere as you explore a world filled with mystery. With puzzles which combine logic and storytelling in a very compelling way, Episode 1 of Dead Cyborg comes to us as Donationware, a system where gamers are encouraged to pay whatever they want for a game, with future episodes coming out once enough donations have been collected. Pretty brilliant idea. So, if you're a bit of a puzzle nut and you're looking for something a little out of the ordinary, Dead Cyborg is available at the address below.
Now, with so many Flash titles to get through each week, I normally don't get to finish most of them. But you know what? I actually sat there and diligently played Defend Your Nuts right through to the end. And what a sense of accomplishment. Well, if you'd like to feel the same sense of satisfaction, then follow the links below and you'll be in freebie fantasy. Also, if you get stuck on any of the levels, like I often do, then those links are the place to go to for advice from any of us here at the Game Team. Righto, onward and upward to the next part of the Sweetie Shop. Yep, it's that bit of the show where we shake down retailers everywhere to find out just what's been moving on the store shelves this week. Separating the wheat from the chaff, this is the wrap.
Updates galore on this edition of the wrap as we begin with some good news for the strategy fans out there. A way to get in on some early action with Might and Magic Heroes 6. The latest installment of a franchise which began more than 20 years ago, Heroes 6, the beta, is now in its second phase and you too can get in on the action. Featuring a wealth of characters and a tome of make-believe from the masters of turn-based fantasy, this one tells an epic story where angels plot to revive an unfinished war. Now do note that access to the beta is limited, but pre-ordering the game on Steam does come with a key so you can get cracking right away before the full game releases later this year. Moving on, it's a turn for the eccentric, because we're taking a look at the latest Xbox Live Arcade title up for digital download, an exploration of the insanely twisted Shadow Planet. As much a game about shooting as it is about cave exploration, this one has you in control of a rather agile flying saucer thingy in a strange world filled with bugged out areas and enemies. Equipped with a scanner which locks onto objects in the game, highlighting their usefulness, the gameplay in this one revolves around the core concepts of exploration and discovery. And even though it doesn't look like it, plays similarly to old school classics like Super Metroid and Castlevania. With a fantastic art style which goes a long way in setting the scene for this stylish adventure, if you're feeling like a bite-sized burst of the bizarre, admissions to the insanely twisted Shadow Planet are now open. And finally, in our roundup of the games released this week, a pretty unusual catch as we explore a title that's looking to once again revive that old mid-90s gaming cliche of the interactive movie. A tale told through photographs that you navigate using your mouse. Trauma tells the story of a young woman who survives a car accident as you navigate her dreams in search of her identity.
Do you think I can be back home this month?
Dealing with adult themes like reliving the loss of loved ones and the effect that has on a person's psyche, Trauma is a mature and interactive tale which feels a lot more like being there than most video games. with a spiffy gesture-based navigation system which really lets you feel like you're there, as well as a design philosophy which focuses on creating a rich experience rather than just a clever puzzle game. Now, if you like what you see, you can play the full game for free online at www.traumagame.com. And for just $5, a downloadable HD version is also available to check out.
Don't know about you, but I am loving the soundtrack from the insanely twisted Shadow Planet. Definitely want to check out if you're into exploration games. Okie dokes, time for a quick commercial interjection. But don't go anywhere because when we return, we tear up much more than the tarmac as we revisit a racing legend. And we delve deep into the art that's going into one of this year's most anticipated shooters. All that and more, so don't go anywhere. Thanks for sticking around, guys. You're tuned into Game with me, Kelly. Right then, sit back and buckle up because we're about to bring you on a roller coaster sugar high in our next segment as we check in with some killer titles set for release in the coming months. Ample ammo? Check. Vicious vehicles? Check. Scintillating, star-dominating scenes? Check, check, check. Brace yourself. It's the preview.
The current kings on the PC are the RTS and FPS, real-time strategy and first-person shooting. And so it was only a matter of time before someone finally decided to make the world's first hybrid. Nuclear Dawn is the first game to boast a full FPS and RTS experience all in one game. Playing as a soldier in the war-torn landscapes allows for several class-based strategies with playable classes such as the Armored, the Assault, and the Stealthy Infantry. But things really start to get heady when you go Commander, with one person taking in all the action of the battlefield from above, organizing players and assigning them various objectives, just like a standard RTS game. Think of it like having a real-life army of StarCraft Marines to babysit. Sounds interesting? Yep, we thought so. With 32 player battles online and a combat system which will rain fiery strategy on the spawn campers and teabaggers out there, look out for this one to release soon in September. Also announced recently, Namco have come up with details about a brand new successor to their flagship racing title. It's time for Ridge Racer to get unbounded. If you're a little ho-hum from the announcement, believe me, I get your drift. Because not only is Unbounded dropping all that stylish chic that gamers have come to love from the older titles, but the series is also going stateside, with Unbounded being the first Ridge Racer game to be made out of Japan. Brought to you by developers Bugbear Entertainment, famous for their flat-out series of racing games, Unbounded looks to focus on destruction, carnage, and risk-taking in a city, which looks like it was built with styrofoam. However, from the looks of this preview, this year's release seems to be suffering from a case of mistaken identity, with the logo ripped from Need for Speed Underground, as well as gameplay which seems like something out of Burnout Revenge, so no points for originality so far. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the full game has to wow us with under its hood when it releases sometime next year. And to close out the preview, time to toe up with one of the most anticipated releases of the year. With literally millions of fans around the globe, Star Wars is one of the most celebrated space operas of the modern era, raking in almost $4.5 billion in box office revenue alone. Now looking to take that success online, Star Wars: The Old Republic is a brand new, massively multiplayer role-playing game set in the familiar universe of lightsabers and funky force powers. Created by BioWare, who are known for their stunning work on the Mass Effect series, this will be the company's first foray into the dangerous MMO market as it looks to stack its offering against heavy hitters like World of Warcraft. Featuring a major focus on developing the characters' individual stories, BioWare have announced that the Old Republic will be their biggest game yet and will come with more story content than all their other games put together. Phew. Now only time will tell how this one stands up after its launch, which is speculated to come early November this year. But with such a strong pedigree of excellence behind them, we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on this one.
Now, I've had some very personal encounters with Star Wars, having dabbled in my fair share of cosplay. So, if you're real good and you ask me real nice on our Facebook page, then maybe, just maybe, I'll post a pic or two. Maybe. Well, moving on. Games come in all genres, shapes and sizes. And in this age of the $1 iPhone app, attention is definitely shifting to more casual experiences. But one company that's taking this in the total opposite direction is id Software. In development for over 6 years by one of the most talented teams in the industry, id Software's new baby, Rage, hopes to once again redefine first-person shooters. And you know what? We believe them. So, in this week's edition of Inside, we sit down with the guys behind the technology to find out the intricacies of making a game come to life.
I survived this long by staying out of trouble. Saving you may have changed all that.
The world of Rage is definitely not the place to want to take your parents on vacation. It is a harsh, dry, unforgiving wasteland where death awaits you behind every corner.
You have a world that's post-apocalyptic, where everything has been destroyed and everything is in ruin.
You wouldn't want to go without a couple rocket launchers, body armor, a week's worth of food.
So the first character that you meet in Rage is named Dan Hagar.
I hear there's something special about you Ark people.
He is this fatherly character that is trying to keep his settlement safe. We knew we needed a great voice talent, and the only way to find that is look for great actors.
In the initial images I saw of Dan Hagar, he had glasses, the shorts, the fishing vest, and I go, that totally reminds me of Walter Sobchak from The Big Lebowski. And I go, Tim, we need to get John Goodman.
Welcome to the future.
You can imagine if there was an actor from Hollywood that could survive an asteroid destroying the Earth, he would be on that list.
Get to town. It'll be safer there.
You can feel his fatherly ways. You can feel that he's got this tough interior. It really was a great combination.
Sound really is half of your experience. The first half is being taken in with your eyes. The second half is being taken in with your ears. You should be able to look at something in the world, hear the sound that's coming from that, and think in your mind's ear, yes, this makes sense. This fits in the world. Gun sounds are one of the hardest things in the world to do, only because you're constantly hearing them. The shotgun is a type of weapon that when you hit the fire button and point it at someone, you really want to feel that kaboom. Get the sound mixed between the high-end elements to pique the interest and the low-end elements, the kick to the gut, to make you feel like you're in a living, breathing, cinematic experience.
Who would have thought that a world so ugly and so torn could look and sound so beautiful? And for those that are wondering, Rage will be releasing soon, sometime in October, so be sure to pencil in some sick days for that. On that happy note, this is where, unfortunately, I have to love you and leave you for yet another week. But in case you get withdrawal symptoms before then, you can always visit our website at espnstar.com/game to watch the best bits from our past episodes. Or you can pop along to our Facebook page at facebook.com/ESSGame, where I can proudly proclaim that we have crossed the 10,000 fan mark. Or you can follow us at Twitter at twitter.com/ESSGame. Till next week, guys, keep those thumbs a-twiddling.